We are in Illustrator, and I am going to draw a box. Right, if I take this out, maybe it'll work better. No, I think it's because I've got the Wi-Fi on. So if you take the Wi-Fi off, maybe it'll work better. No, it's not the Wi-Fi. Just because it's too loud and echoey. Right, that was really cool. Anyway, right, what we're doing here is we are drawing boxes. So, drawn a box around the file, around the canvas, I guess you'd call it, and I'm going to divide the box. So what we do is, I'm mainly doing this not for design purposes, although you could apply this to design. I know you can apply it to design, but that's not the point. The point is that I find it interesting, and I'm trying to share the fact that I find it quite interesting. When I split into the grid, I'll do a 5 one. I mean, that's just arbitrary, random way of doing it, but I suppose you could start at dividing it into 4 squares. I mean, that's the least possible you can do. It could be 1 square, it can be 2 squares, but it can't be. You can't divide a square into 2 squares. Only if one square is inside the other square. So I divide it into squares. So I've got 5 by 5 squares, and this is initially a square that the canvas is a square. I've set it to 4 by 4 inches. Now I'm going to put another square in there, maybe the top. I'm still not entirely 100% sure that you can't divide a square into 2 squares side by side. No, you can't. They can have their equivalents. Anything can have their equivalents as a square. Any shape can be squared. In the mind, it can be turned into a square. I don't know, that's not the correct mathematical term. They argue about this stuff. Anyway, no. I'm going to repeat. I did it 5 last time, so I'm going to split it into 6. And there you go. Basically, you've got, which I thought didn't know was possible. So what I'm interested in is I'm interested in dimensions. I'm interested in the fact that these can represent things. This is not artistic, as art in the 1960s was beyond representation, so I'm not sure I'm making art. But right here in this instance, but it could be applied to my art practice, whereas it does not really matter whether things are possible or impossible or not. That's not important to it. Anyway, so has anybody studied this? I know that there are grid systems and stuff like that, so you could have typography in here, you could have web design, this could be a circuit, there are a lot of applications for this order. One problem with it is that you have this line, and depending on the material this line's made out of, whether it's paint or printed or whatever, it will be completely different things. So it has to be changed for everything. Everything is the process of changing. Although in Illustrator you get this pure essence of something. Anyway, my point is, does anybody else know about this stuff? Is anybody else interested in this stuff? Does this ring any bells with anybody? Obviously, the squares are preserved in the corners, I think, and the rest of it is divided into rectangles. I mean, when I type it in, it says it's square root, so it's divisions of squares. You don't really make that link in your head between square roots and squaring and squares in geometry, because you're looking at them in a totally different way. You might be looking at how good the line is or the craft side of it, and not really focused on the maths side of it. The maths, of course, helps, and it's very common these days just to amalgamate the two and have them synthesis of them together. Synthesis is a whole way of looking at it, so you understand it as someone who's exploring things, that there are many ways in, and the many manifold problems we have in this reality. Basically, I didn't know it was possible till today, and I hadn't made it. I knew it could be. I probably, if I'd been asked, I'd probably go, yeah, that probably is possible. But I'd never been asked. I was just dreaming of it. I was dreaming of this. It's a good way to make compositions, but they normally make compositions with triangles. I mean, this obscures the plane a lot. Next thing I'd say is that you can do this for starting from 4, you can divide that into 5, and then you can divide that into 6, and then you can do 4 into 6 as well, and you can do 5 into 6, and you can do 7 into 8, whatever, carry on from there. And you can, so if we go back from 4 to 3, of course you could have 3 squares and divide the 3 squares by 4 into 4, so you could have 12 squares, for instance. We'll leave it there, but if anybody's got any feedback, that'd be great, and speak to you soon. Thanks, bye.